Hi everyone, it's Jung here for Hip Kit Club. Today I'm sharing 3 cards that I made using the January 2020 Hip Kits. And I went ahead and made 3 card bases using the cardstock kit, and I made an aqua one, the one that's shiny, a pink, and a blue. I thought it would be a fun video to show how I use some of the leftover pieces to make cards. So for example, I had made a layout using this Pink Fresh Studio rainbow paper, and on there's like 2 separate rainbows. So on one of them, the larger rainbow, I used to make this layout, and so I thought I would cut up the other rainbow and add some machine stitching and make a card out of it. Also, I want to just go ahead and apologize for my voice. I do have some severe allergies right now, but I'm just pushing through it. Okay, so just like my layout, I went ahead and added some machine stitching and coordinating colors for each of the rainbow pieces. And then I'm trying to organize them on the card base. And then I'm going to pull all the thread pieces through and trim off the edges. And then just like the little rainbow pieces on my layout, I'm going to roughen up the edges to add a bit of texture and dimension. And you can see all the texture here on the edges. I really like the look that it gives. It kind of gives it a almost cloth-like quality. For my background, I wanted to add some white splatters, just like I did on my layout, and I'm using some white pen ink, and I watered it down a little bit so it can splatter easily, and I'm just gonna splatter on my card base, and then I will let that dry. Also, if I don't get any big splatters on there, I just kind of fake it and I paint them on. Okay, so while that was drying, I went ahead and added some foam squares to the back of the little rainbow pieces. And I will just be attaching that to my card base. The foam squares just help to bring each of the rainbow pieces off the page, and so I like using dimension, especially on cards, because you don't have to worry about putting it in a page protector. Although I guess you do have to stuff them in an envelope unless you just stick them in a gift bag or hand it out personally, but okay, so I decided to leave that last pink one off because I just didn't have enough room on this small card base. And so now I'm just trimming off the excess on the edges. Now that I have my background done and my rainbow pieces put on, I need to figure out what I'm going to do to decorate the rest of my card, especially for the sentiment. So I'm looking through this pink paisley foam thicker sheet, and even though Valentine's is over, there's a lot of sentiments that would work well for St. Patrick's Day and just a card for your loved one. So I decided that I wanted to use this, I guess, horseshoe, and I believe it says "You Are My Lucky Charm." And to go with that, I decided to fussy cut 3 4-leaf clovers from that piece of pattern paper there. And on some of them, I don't know if you can see it there, but there's a little pink piece left over from, one of the hearts. And so I want to kind of hide that behind the little "You Are My Lucky Charm" sticker. I mean, I'm sure it doesn't matter, but I just thought that I would bring up some of the little tips and tricks to hide any, little flaws or mistakes. So I'm going to ruffle up the edges for the 4-leaf clovers, and I'm just going to add some adhesive to the middle so that the ends can flutter up and add even more dimension. And then again, I'm tucking that one under the sticker. And then I will find a place for the third one. And I added 3 because of the odd number rule of 3s, and it's supposed to be pleasing to the eye to use embellishments in odd numbers. And then I will add some of the pink paisley glitter enamel dots to the center of the 4-leaf clovers. And here is my first card all finished. I really love the way this one turned out. It's perfect for St. Patrick's Day. For my next card, I realized I made a mistake when I made the card base. I forgot to cut off the branding strip before I measured the size of the card base, and so I decided that I would just slice that part right off, and then you would be able to see through to the inside. And so I decided that I would fill the inside with the pattern paper, and this one is from Pink Fresh Studio. I think it's one of my favorites from their new collection. I really love the blue with the constellations. So I'm just gonna fill the inside with this pattern paper. I feel like it's light enough that you could still write a sentiment there if you wanted to, or you could write it on the other, the left side of the inside flap. So for this card, I decided that I wanted to use the leftover layered hearts that I had made for this layout here. And of course, usually I make way too much, and so I'm happy to use them. The layered hearts are one of my favorite embellishments though, and I do use them on quite a few layouts. So I was kind of arranging them on the card, and then I decided that I needed to think about a sentiment first, and so I'm looking through that thicker sheet, and then I'm looking through some of the other embellishments in the kit, specifically the Pink Fresh Studio ones. I really love these puffy sticker sentiments, but they are kind of big for a small card, and so I'm just gonna think about it, and eventually I pull out that happy. And there's also a little sentiment in that navy blue one, and I think it says every lovely thing. And that's from the ephemera pack from Pink Fresh Studio. So that's what I'm going to use for my sentiment. Also, I forgot to mention that I did take my corner chomping tool and rounded the corners of the top flap. I figured it would make the flap more noticeable. I'm going to go ahead and glue on this happy ephemera piece with liquid glue. And of course, I brought out my best friend, the T-square roller. And then I will adhere the little sentiment strip with some foam tape. Next, I will arrange and add the 3 layered hearts, and I put those up on foam squares as well. And then I will fill in some of the space with some more hearts. I punched some from the pattern papers in the kits. I used Pink Fresh Studio, and that pink on pink striped one I believe is Pink Paisley. And then I will also add some of the glittered enamel hearts as well. So pretty much for the rest of this card, I'm just filling in more hearts, moving them around. I am using both liquid glue and foam squares to add different heights for each of the hearts. And that's pretty much what I'm doing for this card. Do you guys like card making? Do you like watching card making videos as well? I really like card making. I got into card making and stamping just a couple of years ago, and I really enjoy making them because it allows me to be creative, and I can actually finish a project within a relatively short amount of time because I'm a very slow scrapbooker, and so making cards just allows me to get creative, and it's something project that I can finish right away. And what about you guys? Do you make cards? It is a wonderful way to use up your scraps and any leftover items, and it's also a great way to use up some of the items that you wouldn't necessarily use on your layouts, which is what I often find myself doing, especially with thicker, bigger, bulkier embellishments such as buttons or you know, things with just a whole bunch of dimension. They're easy to stick on a card, and what better way to use it instead of it just staying in your stash. For my third card, I decided that I would try and use some of the ephemera pieces that I haven't really used yet. I decided to make one of these bows from the Pink Fresh Studio collection. And you need 3 pieces. You need the piece that kind of looks like a strapless bra that you see there. I'm using a bone folder to kind of curl the edges, make it easier to manipulate. And you can use glue dots or hot glue if you don't want to wait for liquid glue to dry, but I'm just using liquid glue and my reverse tweezers because that's what I have on hand, and I'm too impatient to wait for the hot glue gun to heat up. And so if you kind of play with it, you see how it all fits together. And then for this little piece, you can either adhere it to just this part like I'm showing you here, or you can wait and put the back tail pieces of the bow on and then wrap it around all of that. And I like the way this one looks better, even though it's bulkier, because it looks good whether you look at it from the front or the sides. So I'm just going to let that dry a bit. I really love the reverse tweezers for this because it just holds it together while the glue dries. And here's my bow all finished. I'm going to be using the pink card base, and then I trimmed out a piece of pattern paper, and this one is from Pink Fresh Studio. And I just added some wonky machine stitching all the way around the sides. And then I kind of roughened the edges a little bit. And again, that's just for extra texture and interest. And I decided, since this pattern paper was pretty bold, I was going to keep the rest of the card pretty simple. So you see there's like a little sentiment banner to the top right of the screen, and it says Plant Kindness. And that is also from the Pink Fresh Studio ephemera pack. And then I'm going to just use that and the bow. So I've already added some foam tape to the back of the pattern paper to pop it off the card base. And now I'm going to add a little bit more of the foam tape to the back of the Plant Kindness ephemera. I don't remember if I mentioned, but that's from the Pink Fresh Studio ephemera pack. And then I'm just going to glue the bow right on top. As I said, I'm just going to keep this card pretty simple. I thought about adding some of these Pink Fresh Studio enamel dots, but I decided to use the glittered pink paisley enamel dots instead. I just wanted a little bit of subtle shine, and so I'm using these muted pink ones. And I'm just going to put it around the sentiment banner, and this card is all finished as well. Here is a closer look at this card. You can see all the texture from the machine stitching. Here's a closer look at my second card. You can see the raised stitched hearts. And another closer look at my first card. Again, I really love the texture that stitching adds. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video even with my croaky voice. Don't forget to stop by the Hip Kit Club website to check out these kits. I will leave all the links in the info bar below. Again, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the Hip Kit Club YouTube channel and give this video a like. Have a wonderful day. Bye.